Ken, what more are we learning about this decision and the case at the heart of it?
Good morning, Anna. This appears to be another example of the attempt by the White House to rewrite the history of January 6th, because what appears to be at issue here is this sentencing memo. These two prosecutors referred to the January 6th attack as a riot. They referred to the defendant here as one of the rioters who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. And that is the kind of language that the White House doesn't like, because they are arguing that that was not a riot on January 6th. And so, as you said, this man was convicted of a separate offense. He was pardoned by Donald Trump for his role in January 6th, but then arrested because he brought illegal guns to Barack Obama's house in Washington, D.C. And he was convicted of that and also of threatening to bomb a government building. And last night, these two line prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C. wrote a sentencing memo explaining his conduct and calling for the judge to impose a 27-month prison sentence. But they also included that paragraph about the Capitol riots. And they were locked out of their offices and devices. They were walked out of the U.S. Attorney's Office. They've been placed on administrative leave. And the news of this move is reverberating around the Justice Department. And it's another warning that you can't, as a prosecutor, tell what you believe is the truth about the January 6th riots without having some risk to your future and your job on it.
Ken Delanian with that latest reporting.
Let's take a breath, because what just happened here deserves more than outrage. It deserves understanding. Two prosecutors used factual language about January 6th, language backed by court convictions, video evidence, and congressional reports. They called it what it was, a riot. And for that, they weren't just criticized, they were locked out of their offices, their accounts disabled, and their reputations questioned. Pause and think about that. When truth-telling becomes a firing offense, we've entered the realm of political stage management, not justice. And that's the real danger. When power stops fearing lies and starts fearing truth. Because this wasn't some partisan slip. It was a line-level decision, a simple sentencing memo. Two professionals following procedure, using the same vocabulary the FBI and Capitol Police used in their own reports. Yet the White House apparently didn't like the optics. So now, the memo's authors are treated like rogue agents. This tells you something fundamental about where we are. We've built a system that can no longer tolerate unapproved honesty. That's not democracy. That's curated reality. And let's not ignore the irony here. The man at the center of this, the one Trump pardoned, was caught with illegal firearms outside Obama's home and had also threatened to bomb a federal building. You'd think the focus would be on public safety, terror threats, radicalization, but no. The outrage is about whether the memo said riot or disturbance. That's like worrying about the tone of the fire alarm while your house burns down. Here's why this matters. Every time political power pressures prosecutors to soften language, it chips away at the integrity of law. The justice system depends on truth being absolute, not negotiable. And when even that becomes conditional, democracy starts looking more like performance art. But this is bigger than one administration. This is about how institutions adapt to fear. Every generation faces a moment when truth becomes inconvenient. Watergate, Iran-Contra, torture memos, surveillance leaks. What defines those moments isn't the lie. It's how quickly the system punishes the truth tellers. And right now, we're punishing them faster than ever. So what happens next? Expect internal spin, expect procedural clarification, expect memos about tone alignment and communication discipline. But here's the thing, that won't fix the problem. Because the real issue isn't the words on a page, it's the fear behind them. We've reached a stage where the bureaucracy itself is terrified of language. And when truth becomes politically radioactive, justice becomes blindfolded for all the wrong reasons. But let me say this clearly, truth doesn't vanish when you rewrite it. It just changes medium. If the memos get buried, journalists dig them up. If reporters are silenced, podcasts amplify them. If officials are gagged, leaks happen. That's how truth works. It leaks through the cracks of control. So the next time someone says, this isn't a big deal, remember, history starts with small edit. One word here, one omission there. And before you know it, accountability disappears behind the curtain of national image management. That's why we have to keep watching, questioning, and pushing back. Not just as viewers, but as citizens. Because when words like riot become forbidden, what's next? Will democracy become too divisive to mention? Will truth need an official press release? So here's my takeaway. If your government is afraid of the word riot, maybe it's not the word that's the problem. Maybe it's the reality behind it. If you care about transparency, accountability, and actual justice, not just slogans, then this is your wake-up call. Because no democracy collapses overnight. It erodes one punished truth at a time. You can't silence reality forever. You can only delay its broadcast. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more honest, fearless analysis. Because here we don't rewrite history, we confront it.